Good morning. Today we will start with natural convection. We consider heat transfer by forced convection, where a fluid was forced to move over a surface or in the tube by external means such as pump or fan. In this chapter, we consider natural convection, where any fluid motion occurs by natural means such as buoyancy. The fluid motion in forced convection is quite noticeable, since a fan or a pump can transfer enough momentum to the fluid to move it in a certain direction. The fluid motion in natural convection, however, is often not noticeable because of low velocity involved. The convection heat transfer coefficient is a strong function of velocity. The higher the velocity, the higher the convection heat transfer coefficient. The fluid velocity associated with natural convection are very low, less than 1 meter per second. Therefore, the heat transfer coefficient encountered in natural convection are usually much lower than those encountered in forced convection. We start this chapter with discussion of physical mechanism of natural convection and Grashof number. Most of equipments are designed on the basis of natural convection. You can take example of condenser in your refrigerator. Physical mechanism of natural convection. Many familiar heat transfer applications involve natural convection in the primary mechanism of heat transfer. Some examples are cooling of electronic equipment such as power transistors, TV, VCR, heat transfer from electronic baseboard heaters or steam radiators, heat transfer from refrigeration, coils and power transmission lines. Natural convection in gases is usually accompanied by radiation of comparable magnitude except for low emissivity surface. We know the hot boiled egg on a plate eventually cools to the surrounding air temperature. The egg is cooled by transferring heat by convection to the air and by radiation to the surrounding. Disregarding heat transfer by radiation, the physical mechanism of cooling of hot egg in a cooler environment can be explained as follows. As soon as the hot egg is exposed to cold air, temperature of the outer surface of egg will be dropped somewhat and the temperature of air adjacent to the shell will rise as a result of heat conduction from the shell to the air. Consequently, the egg will soon be surrounded by a thin layer of warmer air and heat will then be transferred from this warmer layer to the outer layer of air. The cooling process in this case would be rather slow, since the egg would always be blanked by warm air and it would have no direct contact with the cooler air farther away. We may notice any air motion in the vicinity of the egg, but careful measure indicate otherwise. Means we were unable to notice any movement, but if you carefully see, there is a movement of the air around the egg from the bottom to the upward side. The temperature of the adjacent egg is higher and thus its density is lower. Since at constant pressure the density of gas is inversely proportional to its temperature. Thus we have a situation in which some low density or light gas is surrounded by high density heavy gas, and natural law dictate that the light gas will rise. The space vacated by warmer air in the vicinity of egg is replaced by cooler air nearby, and the presence of cooler air in the vicinity of egg speeds up the cooling process. The motion that results from the continual replacement of heated air in the vicinity of the egg by the cooler air nearby is called natural convection currents. So these are our natural convection currents. This type of currents we also see in the weather because of the ground air at high temperature. The ground air starts to move upward and the heavier air in the upper atmosphere will come down. So note that in the absence of natural convection currents, heat transfer from egg to the air surrounding, it would be by conduction only, and the rate of heat transfer from the egg will be much lower. Natural convection is just as effective in the heating of cold surface in a warm environment as it is in the cooling of hot surface in the cooler environment. You can see here, if warm air is coming into contact with the cold can, as its temperature will drop down, its density increase and it will go down. In a gravitational field, there is a net force that pushes upward a light fluid placed in a heavier fluid. The upward force exerted by a fluid on a body completely or partially immersed in it is called buoyancy force. Say a boat, the weight of boat is acting downward, the buoyancy force will act upward. V is the submerged volume of the boat. Now buoyancy force is proportional to the density of fluid, gravity and volume of the portion of the body immersed in the fluid. This is the volume of portion of body immersed in fluid. In the absence of any other force, the net vertical force acting on the body is the difference between the weight of the body and the buoyancy force. So net force acting on this boat is equal to weight of body minus buoyancy force. We know weight of body is equal to density of body into gravity into volume of body, and buoyancy force is equal to density of fluid, gravity into volume of body. So this is the equation for net force on the body. Now this condition is when body is completely immersed in a fluid. Note that this force is proportional to the difference in the densities of fluid and body immersed in it. Thus a body immersed in a fluid will experience a weight loss in an amount equal to the weight of fluid it displaces. This is known as the Archimedes principle. To have a better understanding of the buoyancy effect, consider an egg drop into water. If the average density of egg is greater than the density of water, the egg will settle at the bottom of the container. Otherwise, it will rise at the top. When the density of the egg equals the density of water, the egg will settle somewhere in the water while remaining completely immersed, acting like a weightless object in space or like a submarine. The buoyancy effect has a far-reaching application life. For one thing, without buoyancy, heat transfer between hot surface and the fluid surrounding it would be by conduction instead of natural convection. You can also see chimney effect that induces the upward flow of hot combustion gases through a chimney is also due to the buoyancy effect, and the upward force acting on the gases in chimney is proportional to difference between the density of the hot gases in the chimney and the cooler air outside. In heat transfer studies, the primary variable is temperature, and it is desirable to express the net buoyancy force. So this buoyancy force in terms of temperature difference, but this requires expressing the density difference in terms of temperature difference. Means instead of density difference, which is in this equation, we have to replace the temperature difference. So which requires a knowledge of a property that represents the variation of density of a fluid with respect to temperature. Means if we have to replace the density with the temperature, so we must know what will that variation density with respect to temperatures. At constant pressure, the property that provides this information is volume expansion coefficient, which is called beta. You can see here, in this case you had a substance at 20 degrees Celsius and 100 kilopascal at 1 kg. Now we will raise the temperature of this substance by 1 degree. You can see its volume has expanded. We have another substance with the same temperature, same pressure and same mass. When we supply heat, raise the temperature of this substance by 1 degree. This volume has increased more as compared to this. So in this case, volume increases more as compared to this. So coefficient of volume expansion beta is a measure of change in volume of a substance with temperature at constant pressure. Higher is the beta, higher will your expansion of the substance, increase in the volume of substance. So this is your beta, which is volume expansion coefficient. Now divide and multiply by mass, because mass is fixed in this case. Mass won't change with the expansion, mass will remain constant. So divide and multiply by mass, you will become this relation. Volume upon mass is equal to density. Here if you divide by mass, it will become density. Here it will multiply by mass. So volume upon mass is equal to density. So negative sign, because with the increase in temperature, your density will decrease. In natural convection studies, the condition of fluid sufficiently far from the hot or cold surface is indicated by the subscript infinity to serve as a reminder that this is the value at a distance where the presence of the surface is not felt. In such case, the volume expansion coefficient can be expressed approximately by replacing differential quantities by difference. So you can replace it, write as minus 1 by density del P density by del T, where del P is this is density difference, which is equal to minus 1 by density into density infinity, which is a fluid very far away from the hot surface. This is the density of the fluid which is very near to the hot or cold surface. This is temperature infinity of the fluid far away from the surface. This is temperature of the surface. Now this condition is at constant pressure. On rearranging you will get this relation. Now this is the desired relation of density difference in terms of temperature difference. We can show easily that the volume expansion coefficient beta of an ideal gas at a constant temperature is equivalent to the inverse of temperature, where T is absolute temperature. Note that large value of beta for a fluid means a large change in density with temperature, and that the product B delta represent the fraction of volume change of fluid that correspond to a temperature change delta T at constant pressure. Also note that the buoyancy force is proportional to density difference, which is proportional to the temperature difference at constant pressure. You can see this buoyancy force, it is proportional to density difference. In case of natural convection, density difference is proportional to the temperature difference here. So it means larger is this temperature difference, larger is density difference, and larger is your buoyancy force. Stronger the natural convection currents and thus higher the heat transfer rate. The magnitude of the natural convection heat transfer between a surface and fluid is directly related to the flow rate of the fluid. The higher the flow rate, the higher the heat transfer rate. In fact, it is very high flow rates that increase the heat transfer coefficient by orders of magnitude when forced convection is used. In natural convection, no blowers are used and therefore the flow rate cannot be controlled externally. The flow rate in this case is established by the dynamic balance of buoyancy and friction. So these are two forces which will result into the natural convection. When your buoyancy force overcomes the friction force, then your natural convection will start. It is also well known that whether two bodies in contact, solid-solid, solid fluid or fluid-fluid, move relative to each other, a friction force develops at the contact surface in direction opposite to the motion. This opposing force slows down the fluid and thus reduces the flow rate of the fluid. Under steady conditions, the air flow driven by buoyancy is established at the point where these two facts balance each other. The friction force increases as more and more solid surfaces are introduced, so seriously disrupting the flow and heat transfer. For that reason, heat sinks with closely spaced fins are not suitable for natural convection cooling. So they are heat sinks we are used with the forced convection. The most heat transfer correlation in natural convection are based on experiment measurements. The instrument often used in natural convection experiment is Mach-Zehnder interferometer, which gives a plot of isotherm in the fluid in the vicinity of surface. The pressure principle of interferometer is based on the fact that at low pressure, the lines of constant temperature for a gas correspond to the lines of constant density, and that the index of refraction of a gas is a function of density. Therefore, the degree of refraction of light at some point in a gas is a measure of the temperature gradient at that point. An interferometer produces a map of interference fringe which can be interpreted as lines of constant temperature. So these are the isotherms, means constant temperature line in natural convection over a hot plate. This is turbulent flow over the hot plate. Equation of motion and the Grashof number. In this section we derive equation of motion that governs the natural convection flow in laminar boundary layer. The conservation of mass and energy equation derived for forced convection are also applicable for natural convection, but the momentum equation need to be modified to incorporate bouncy effect. Consider a vertical hot plate. So this is vertical hot plate immersed in quiescent fluid body, we assume the natural convection flow to be steady, laminar and two-dimensional, and the fluid to be Newtonian with constant properties. Exception: the density difference. This is to be considered since it is this density difference between the inside and outside of boundary layer that gives rise to the buoyancy force and sustained flow. So this you can understand. If density here is the same as the outside, there is no flow at all. Means whatever the difference between this density which is in this boundary layer and the outside density of the air, this difference causes this flow of the air. So we take the upward direction along the plate to be x, this direction we consider x, and direction normal to the surface to be y. Therefore gravity acts in the x direction, noting that the flow is steady and two-dimensional, and x and y components of velocity within the boundary layer are u is equal to uxy and v is equal to vxy. The velocity profile and temperature profile for natural convection over a vertical hot plate are this here. Note that in forced convection, the thickness of boundary layer increase in the flow direction. Unlike forced convection, however, the fluid velocity is zero at the outer edge of the velocity boundary layer as well as at the surface of the plate. So velocity at this side and velocity at this side is zero. So this is expected since the fluid beyond the boundary layer is motionless. So this is the no slip condition. Thus the fluid velocity increase with the distance from the surface and reaches a maximum and gradually decrease to zero at a distance sufficiently far from the surface. At the surface, the fluid temperature is equal to the plate temperature. This is and reaches a minimum and gradually decrease to zero at a distance sufficiently far from the surface. At the surface, the fluid temperature is equal to plate temperature. In case of cold surface, the shape of velocity and temperature profile remains the same, but their direction is reverse. Means this profile is same, but they will reverse. Consider a differential volume element of phi dx and length dy and unit depth in z direction, which is normal to the paper for analysis. The force acting on this element are shown in figure, that is by Newton's second law of motion, which is equal to this mass of this element and acceleration of this element is equal to the force on this element. Now this element is accelerating in x direction, so force will be the x direction. Mass of this element is equal to this dx into dy into 1 unit, which is this, into density. The acceleration in x direction is obtained by taking the total differential of u x comma y, which is du is equal to del u by del x dx plus del u by del y dy and dividing it by dt. So when you take the differential, you will get this divided by dt will give you the acceleration. Divide this term as well as this term by dt. Now dx by dt, it will again become u and dy by dt will become b. So this is your acceleration. The forces acting on the differential volume element in vertical direction are pressure forces acting on the top and bottom surface, the shear force acting on the sides, both surfaces in opposite direction, and the force of gravity acting on the entire volume. So this is your difference of this force, and this force is equal to this del tau by del y dy, and this will act on this area dx multiplied by 1 unit, which is in z direction, minus pressure force, which is del p by del x into dx acting on dy into 1 unit depth, which is this, minus the gravity force which will act in the downward direction, density into gravity into volume of the element. We know by definition your shear stress is equal to this. So put the value of this shear stress into this equation. You will get this equation. Now substitute this Fx and Ax into this equation here. Ax and Fx. You will get this equation, which gives the conservation of momentum in x direction. So this equation for the fluid which is flowing in the upward direction under the influence of buoyancy force. Now x momentum equation in the quiescent fluid outside the boundary layer which is having zero velocity. So this is the fluid outside the boundary layer which is still. So for this fluid velocity is 0. You can find the same equation. Put here u0. When you put u0, you will get this equation. Del px by del x is equal to minus density into gravity, which is simply the relation for the variation of hydrostatic pressure in the quiescent fluid with weight as expected. We had derived this relation in fluid dynamics also. We know v is much less than u. So this velocity in the y direction is much less compared to the velocity in the u direction, and that there are no body force including gravity in y direction, because gravity force is acting in x direction only. So means this term will 0 and these terms will be 0, because these terms will be 0, and we are talking about y direction. So this term will also 0, and if there is no gravity force, this term is 0. You will get this equation which is del p by del y is equal to 0. That is, variation of pressure in direction normal to the surface is negligible, and for given x, the pressure in boundary layer is equal to pressure in quiescent fluid. Therefore P is equal to Px is equal to P infinity x. It means del p by del x is equal to del p infinity by del x is equal to minus density infinity into gravity. Now put this value of del p by del x in this equation. This value here, when you put del p by del x is equal to minus density infinity into gravity, you will get this equation. Now the last term here represents the net upward force per unit volume of the fluid, the difference between buoyant force and the fluid weight. This is the force that initiate and sustain convection currents. Replace this equation, which is density difference, with this in terms of temperature difference. You will get this equation here. This is the equation that governs fluid motion in the boundary layer due to the effect of buoyancy. Note that the momentum equation involves temperature, and thus the momentum and energy equation must be solved simultaneously.
The Grashof number, the governing equations of natural convection and boundary conditions, can be non-dimensionalized by dividing all dependent and independent variables by suitable constant quantities, all length by characteristic length Lc, all velocity by an arbitrary reference velocity v, which form the definition of Reynolds number, is taken to be v is equal to REL VL by LC, and the temperature by a suitable temperature difference, which is taken to be Ts minus T. So this is your dimensionless number x asterisk, y asterisk, where x divided by characteristic length, and u, which is u divided by this reference velocity v asterisk, where v divided by reference velocity v, and t asterisk, which is equal to t minus T infinity by Ts minus T infinity. So now when you put all these dimensional number into this equation, you will get this equation here. Now this parameter is the dimensionless parameter in brackets and represent the natural convection effects and is called Grashof number. So you can see here in the hot surface plate, the fluid is flowing upward due to the buoyancy force, and friction force is holding this fluid to flow in the upward direction. So these are two forces opposing each other. So Grashof number is a measure of relative magnitudes of the buoyancy force and the opposing viscous force. We mentioned in preceding chapter that flow regime in forced convection is governed by dimensional echelon number, which represents the ratio of inertial force to viscous force acting on a fluid. The flow regime in natural convection is governed by dimensionless Grashof number, which represents the ratio of the buoyancy force to the viscous force acting on the fluid. The role played by Reynolds number in forced convection is played by the Grashof number in natural convection. As such, the Grashof number provides the main criteria in determining whether the fluid flow is laminar or turbulent in natural convection. For vertical plates, for example, the critical Grashof number is observed to be 10⁹ Therefore, the flow regime on vertical plate becomes turbulent at Grashof number greater than 10⁹. The relative importance of each mode of heat transfer is determined by the value of the coefficient, which is Grashof by Reynolds square. Natural convection effects are negligible if Grashof by Reynolds square is less than 1, means your Grashof number is much less, so we have to net the natural effects, and if Grashof number is greater, this term will be larger than 1. In that case, both effects are significant and convection effects in this case will dominate. Natural convection effects are negligible if Grashof number by Reynolds number less than 1. Free convection dominates and the forced convection effects are negligible if Grashof by Reynolds greater than 1, and both effects are significant and must be considered if Grashof by Reynolds is equal to 1. Natural convection over surface. Natural convection heat transfer on a surface depends on the geometry of the surface as well as its orientation. It also depends on the variation of temperature on the surface and the thermophysical properties of the fluid involved. Although we understand the mechanism of natural convection well, the complexities of fluid motion make it very difficult to obtain simple analytic relations for heat transfer by solving the geometrical governing equations of motion and energy. Some analytical solution exists for natural convection. The simplest empirical correlations for the average Nusselt number in natural convection are the form HL by K is equal to C. Grashof number, Prandtl number raised to power n is equal to C. Rayleigh number, where Rayleigh number is the product of Grashof number and Prandtl number. So Rayleigh number is equal to divide as this G beta Ts minus T infinity L C cube by V square into Prandtl. The values of constant C and N depend on geometry of surface and flow regime, which is characteristic by the range of the Rayleigh number. The value of N is usually 1/4 for laminar flow and 1/3 for turbulent flow. Simple correlations for average Nusselt number for various geometries are given in table. Empirical relations for average Nusselt number of natural convection over surface. So this is your vertical plate. This is range of Rayleigh number. This is your Nusselt number. For inclined plate, for horizontal plate, upper surface of a hot plate or lower surface of a cold plate. For vertical cylinder, for horizontal cylinder and for sphere, these are empirical relations. All fluid properties are to be evaluated at film temperature, which is average of surface and free fluid temperature. So if you know the Nusselt number, you can find a heat transfer coefficient and you can find over a heat transfer coefficient from this relation. Inclined plates, consider an inclined hot plate that made an angle theta from the vertical as shown in figure in the cooler environment. The net force F is equal to G into density, that is the difference between the density. So acting on the unit volume of fluid in the boundary layer is always in vertical direction. So this force is in vertical direction. So in this case there are two components, one is Fx, one is Fy. Fy will act perpendicular to the plate surface and Fx is responsible for the flow of the fluid. So Fy is equal to F cos theta, Fx is equal to F sin theta. Noting that the force that drives the motion reduced, we expect the convection currents to be weaker and the rate of heat transfer to be lower relative to the vertical case. So this is weaker. It means the heat transfer is less in this case, inclined plate, as compared to if the plate is vertical. The experiments confirm what we suspect for the lower plate of a hot plate. The opposite is observed in upper plate for this surface. Now this shape of the boundary layer and this breakage here is due to this vertical component of the force, which is Fy, which will act in upward. So this is the upper surface of the plate, while Fx component is the same. The reason for this curious behavior for the upper surface is that the force component Fy initiates upward motion in addition to the parallel motion along the plate, and thus the boundary layer breaks up and forms plumes as shown in figure. As a result, the thickness of the boundary layer and thus the resistance to heat transfer decrease, and the rate of heat transfer increase related to the vertical orientation. So in the case of this upper surface, the heat transfer is more as compared to the vertical plate. In case of cold plate in warm environment, the opposite occurs as expected. The boundary layer on the upper surface remains intact with weaker boundary layer flow and thus the lower rate of heat transfer, and the boundary layer on the lower surface breaks apart and does enhance heat transfer. When the boundary layer remains intact, the Nusselt number can be determined from the vertical plate relations, provided that G in Rayleigh number relation is replaced by G cos theta, theta less than 60.